Hello, so this is a review of how to graph lines in the coordinate plane. So for the first review, you'll need to know what slope-intercept form is. So slope-intercept form is really y equals mx plus b. Okay, so the slope is your n, okay, or it's your rise over your run, okay. Your b is your y-intercept, okay, y-intercept. So you'll remember back in Algebra 1 where you have to begin graphing with your b and then you rise over run based on what the slope is in that case. So in this case you have y equals 3/4 x plus 2. So I'm going to begin at 2 and then all I'm going to do is rise 3 and then run 4. Now, the trick is the run is always to the right, okay? When you have a negative slope, you would not rise, you would go down and then run to the right. So, what you do with this, up 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have another point. I can then draw my graph, and I'm done. In this case, I'm going to start at the same point, at my b is 2, and then my m, it has just that negative sign in front of the x. So that is really -1. So I make it a fraction, 1 over 1. So that means I'm going to go down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. Remember, when you have negative slopes, it should be going down as you read the graph left to right. So that negative sign only refers to the top number, not to the bottom number. The next step is graphing in standard form. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. So you'll see it written as, in this case, 6x plus 3y equals 12. It's where it's not solved for y. So we can use two methods to graphing in standard form. We can use the method called graphing with the intercepts being the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So intercepts mean where it crosses the axis. Okay? So where it crosses the axis. In this case, some people might know this as the cover-up method. What I do is I would substitute zeros individually for x and y, and then I would solve. So in this case, I can say, if I substitute 0 in for y, what happens is that 3 times the 0 goes away. So I'm left with 6x equals 12, and then I can divide by 6, and I get x is 2. That translates to a point, 2, 0, where x is 2, y is 0. So 2, 0, I can graph that point. I can repeat the process and say, what's 6 times 0 plus 3 times y? I can plug in 0 here. What I'm left with is 3y equals 12, so y is going to be 4. So that point is 0, 4, and that is my y-intercept. This is my x-intercept. 0, 4. Now I have 2 points. I can graph that line. You can make it very simple for yourself, and You are substituting for 0 in here. But if you look, you can cover up the variable that you're going to cancel for. And in the second equation, you would just be left with negative 2x equals negative 8. So x is going to be 4. So I can graph that as 4, 0. And then I would repeat the process to solve for the y-intercept. I cover up the x. What I'm left with is 4y equals negative 8. So then y is going to be negative 2. And I can graph that. This method only works if x and y, the numbers in front of x and y, you can divide evenly into that c, that constant term. Otherwise, we have to do our next process, which is to solve for y. So what you're going to do in this next process is you're going to transform standard form into the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So I do it in 2 steps. Step 1, move the x term. Step 2, divide by the number in front of y. Okay, so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this 4x to the other side. And when I move that, I'm going to subtract it from both sides. Remember that x is with the 4. So when I get to this point right here, I'm left with negative 2y on this side equals 9 minus 4x. I leave those separate. The reason why I leave those separate is these are not like terms. So now I can divide by that number in front of y, and when I divide everything by that negative 2, and I'm left with my equation. My equation here is going to be y equals negative 4.5. That's just a number. Now you'll notice the negative and the negative are going to become a positive. So I'm going to just write plus, and then I say 4 divided by 2 is 2x. What that means is that this is my b, and this is my m. Because my m, my slope, is always found in front of the x term, and not just always the first term. So now I'm going to graph. So negative 4.5 is right in between the 4 and the 5. And then I'm going to go up to 1, 2, over 1. Up to, over 1. I'm going to graph my line. Second equation, I'm going to do the same thing. Remember, move your x term first. These are not going to be like terms, so I'm left with 6y equals 12 minus 2x. And when I divide by 6, I divide everything. So y, in this case, is going to equal 12 divided by 6 is 2. That is going to stay as a minus sign because these are negative and a positive are negative. But I have to reduce this down. So 2 over 6 is really 1/3 x. So don't flip the fraction on yourself. Oftentimes students will flip that thinking it's 6 divided by 2. It's 2 divided by 6, which is a fraction. And remember, fractions are fine here because this is my m and this is my b. So I'm going to start at 2, and this negative means I'm going to go down 1 to the right 3. Down 1 to the right 3. And I can graph my line.